Hare Krishna, Namaste. Question: how to remember Krishna at work? Or, it is very difficult to remember Krishna at workplace. Remembering Krishna while having meetings, attending clients or patients, talking to a lecturer if one is studying in schools. How to remember Krishna during these times? It seems to be challenging. If I start thinking of Krishna, then I may miss out some important things at work. I may not pay attention to what has been discussed. I may not pay attention to the patients to hear their problems. I may even see things wrongly in the report, may not prescribe right thing. A student may say, I may not be able to deliver the assignments, the projects. Many things may go wrong. But I want to remember Krishna even at workplace. When I am chanting, I am trying my best to remember Krishna. When I am studying the scriptures, it is easy to remember Krishna. But how can I be in thought of Krishna all the time at workplace or in school? Now let's see the answer with the help of Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, 7th sloka. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha mayarpita mano buddhi mam ivaishyashi asamsayam. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Just a background, in the 5th sloka of the same chapter, Krishna said, Antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram. Whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. And in the 6th sloka, Krishna says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tvajatyante kalevaram. Tam tam iveti konteya sadatat bhav bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So Krishna is trying to say, try to remember me now and always, so that when you are ready to leave your body, you can remember me. In other words, if you don't remember me now, when your senses, body, mind are all active, then at the time of death, it's going to be difficult for you to remember me. So in the sloka number 7, Krishna says, therefore always think of me. Arjuna's question was, so I should always think about you? No need to fight? Krishna says, no, you must fight. You must think of me as well as get engaged in fighting. Arjuna, scratching his head, asked, how is that possible to do? Both at the same time. That is very difficult. Krishna said, yes, it is difficult for you because your anadi kala papa, which is stopping you to remember me. As long as you have those obstacles in the form of papam, you will not be able to think of me all the time while you are engaged in other activities. Arjuna's question was, how do I get rid of the papam? How to remove those obstacles so I can think of you all the time as you wanted? And at the time of death, what needs to be done? Krishna says, my dear friend, same thing what I told you earlier. You need to do your duty, your karma yoga, which will remove the obstacles that keeps you away from remembering me. Then Arjuna said, yeah, that I already agreed to you that I am going to do my karma yoga. Krishna said, well, if you have already agreed and you know what karma yoga means, then get started. Arjuna again asked, well, I will do that, but what can I do here in the battlefield? Krishna said, this is where you do your karma yoga. Fighting is your varnashrama dharma, which is part of karma yoga. Then Arjuna said, well, fighting will entangle me further into accumulating karma, Krishna. And Krishna said, that is why you need to do not just karma yoga, but triveda tyaga. I've told this repeatedly so many times. Do your duty with the thought that you are not the doer, you are not the proprietor, and you are not the enjoyer of the fruits. So this is a dialogue that took place at that time in the 8th chapter. Now let's pause here. Think about our situation. Krishna is asking Arjuna to fight because that is his varnashrama dharma. In our case, whatever our dharma is, we need to do that. When we do that, with that 3 principles, I am not the doer, I am not the proprietor, I am not the enjoyer. Krishna is the doer, Krishna is the proprietor, Krishna is the enjoyer. Our obstacles to remember Krishna get removed. Then we will be able to remember Krishna as we perform our other duties. Whether we are cooking, whether we are cleaning, whether we are working, whether we are doing lawn mowing or clearing the snows, raising the children, etc. When we follow our varnashrama dharma, when we do our dharma, which is our duties, we consider that as a service to Krishna and we are doing for his pleasure. Some factors that may help to remain in Krishna consciousness and thought of Krishna is choosing a place where temple and devotees are there. Second point, though we may have temple and devotees, we must take effort to take the advantage of both temple and devotees. We must associate with the devotees who reminds us of Krishna, and we must get engaged in the temple services. Thirdly, we must always engage in hearing and chanting every day. If these 3 are not done, then our thoughts will be obviously distracted. When our thoughts are distracted, then we won't be able to focus on Krishna. If we cannot focus on Krishna while we are healthy, then at the time of death, the chance to remember Krishna is going to be very thin. Now let's take this whole question into a different angle. Those who are asking question of how to remember Krishna at workplace must also know practically it will be challenging. Not to say give up that job, that is not what has been expected, and it is not necessary either. One may have some responsibilities to take care, some financial needs, etc. Now let's ask few practical questions. Are we getting paid at work to remember something else other than the work? Let's ask the same questions to a student. Did you join the college to remember something else other than your studies? If answer is yes, then why even you join the college, school? Why even you join the workplace? If you're running a business, how will you react to your employee? Or if you're a professor, how will you see your student if they don't do their job or studies? They are distracted. They're thinking of something else. Will you continue paying them every month while they're not doing their job? Will you give grants to those student who doesn't really study and focus well? You may argue saying that, well, is remembering Krishna important or doing job at work is important? Yes, remembering Krishna is a topmost important work that we all have to take. Is that what we committed when we took the job? When we enrolled into a school? Did we tell our employer that I will be physically present, mentally absent at work? Kindly excuse me. If you're mentally absent at work, then what is going to be the outcome of one's job, one's studies? You may say, well, I'm thinking of Krishna, therefore the result at work or school will be good. Are we saying that Krishna is going to do our job? Krishna is going to write our exams? No, that is not what Krishna wants us to do. Krishna wants us to do our duty and remember Him also. Not just remember Him and don't do our duty, or just do our duty without remembering Him. Both are needed at the same time. Therefore, to start with, one has to do their best with full focus at work or studies. By doing so, one will be more productive and able to get the work done sooner and have more free time where they can engage themselves in studying the scriptures, hearing, chanting, discussing, etc. Now let's ask a question to ourselves. Are we talking about remembering Krishna at workplace, or are we talking about meditating upon Krishna at workplace or any other place for that matter? Remembering, the reason for asking this question is remembering and meditating are different. Let's understand that first. Remembering is a thought that we knew already. We develop a new knowledge of something when we see for the first time, and that gets registered. And after some period of time, we recollect what we saw few days back or few months back. That recollection is what remembrance means. When that thought stays for an extended period, then that becomes meditation or dhyana. And when that period of remembrance extends further longer period without interruption, even after the meditation time, then it is said to be samadhi. So for us, remembering or recollecting things is not at all a challenge. If I must think of my father, I can think. As I say father, his image comes right in front of my eyes. When I say elephant, the image of elephant comes right in front of my eyes. If I have to think of my child, it's not a big deal. Without any effort, I can remember my child. That too while being engaged in other activities. But to stay in that state of thought on a particular object, always in a meditative mode, even if it is a family member, it is not easy. And also it is not necessary for people like us. Let's understand why. We are not able to continuously remember our family member, say my child, at workplace. Doesn't mean I forgot my child. Doesn't mean I don't care my child. Doesn't mean I don't love my child. Doesn't mean I'm not working for my child. Right after work, we look forward to be with our beloved ones. So what we are doing at workplace for 8 hours is simply out of our love for the family members. We work there and go through all sort of struggles at job just to keep my family happy. Why? Because I love them. Therefore, it is not an absolute necessity that one has to get into dhyana stage while doing their job at workplace. Our consciousness tells very well why we are working, for whom we are working, and while we are at the workplace, our consciousness and our learning says very well that I am not the doer, I am not the proprietor, and the result of that work is also not mine, it's all Krishna's. If someone is having a high expectation to attain a samadhi stage at workplace, then it is going to be difficult. Certainly workplace is not where we want to attain such states. And if that is the goal, then going to work is also not a good idea. So what we do is we try to protect our consciousness around those 8 hours of our work by proper morning and evening sadhanas, practices, spiritual practices, chanting our rounds, reading scriptures, hearing to lectures, having only prasadam, food that is offered to Krishna, going to bed at right time and getting up early in the morning, do some small practice of yoga, pranayama, some exercise. All this will certainly help one to remember Krishna at workplace. When the bhakti matures to its peak, one will not know what they are doing. They appear and behave like a madman. One will make mistakes in doing material things, like that of Vidura, who gave banana peel instead of banana to Krishna. From the material perspective, it's an offense to give a banana peel to someone, then what to speak of Krishna. But from the spiritual perspective, that's the highest love for Godhead. One loses control of oneself not knowing what they are doing. When they see Krishna, when they hear the name of Krishna, like that of King Kulashekara, being a king, whenever he hears Ramayana, he completely gets lost. Not everyone is so great like these great souls. But that doesn't mean Krishna will not accept us. So the point we are trying to make here is remembering is different, meditating is different. At work, we can certainly try to remember Krishna by all means. But if one is thinking of dhyana, meditation upon Krishna, then that is going to be questionable. And that is not what Krishna is also expecting us to do at workplace, by the way. The devotees, whatever they do it for the pleasure of Krishna. They study for Krishna, they work for Krishna, they eat for Krishna, they marry for Krishna, they get children for Krishna, they earn money for Krishna. It's all for Krishna. That means they are in remembrance of Krishna all the time. The lifestyle, the fast lifestyle that we are in, we cannot expect to get into a dhyana stage at workplace. It is difficult. But it is easy to remind ourselves about Krishna and remember Krishna. Then one may ask, then why did Krishna say you have to fight and also remember me? Yes, Krishna said Anusmaran. You remember me. He did not say Anudhyanam. You meditate upon me. You attain samadhi. That is not what told for a karma yogi. What Krishna says, you remember me and do your job, that I am your master, you are my servant, and you are my instrument. You are not the doer. You are not the proprietor. You are not entitled to the results of your action. It's all me. And know that the people that you are dealing with are also part and parcel of me. The place that you are working also belongs to me. Now, a learned person, a scholar, may say, what about Sanatan Goswami? He excused from his work by saying he is sick, but actually he was not. But he was fully engaged in devotional service. Why can't I follow the footsteps of Rupa and Sanatana in that way? At work, don't do my job, but do Krishna conscious activities. Yes, you can do that one, provided you follow Sanatan Goswami or Rupa Goswami 100%, not just 5 or 10% of what they did. They gave up all their wealth and surrendered to Mahaprabhu. They didn't have anything for themselves. They didn't care for the next meal, what they are going to wear, where they are going to stay. So we have to check ourselves. Are we in that position? If not, then better stay and do our job to the best, but developing internally that love for Krishna. By not setting a proper example at workplace, it's just going to bring a bad name. If they come to know that we are a devotee from a spiritual organization, we simply bring a ill name to everyone. Therefore, being truthful at workplace is important. Chanakya Pandit, the great Pandit, he had two pens. Whenever he deals with office work, he uses one type of pen, and whenever he works on his poetry, he uses another pen. Then someone asked, why do you have two different pens? Why can't you use the same pen for two things that you're doing? He said that I'm using this pen to do office work because this pen was given to me by my office, the king for that matter. Therefore, I'm using for that purpose. Over here, this is my own interest of writing literatures. Therefore, I use my personal pen to compose these literatures. That is the level of thinking and honesty that the great saints had those days. One may say, well, I utilize everything in my office in Krishna's service, therefore not a problem. By doing so, I am Krishnaizing all the company facilities. The company gets benefit. Well, the company doesn't need to get benefit by this. They've given you a job. By that, they get benefit because the money that you're getting from the company, you're going to use it in Krishna consciousness anyway. Therefore, they are getting benefit, Ajnana Shukriti. We don't need to generate something new for them in the name of Krishna consciousness. One thing that one can do at workplace is to have some Krishna conscious discussion, if possible, during lunchtime or any free times. One can gather and study Bhagavad Gita or have a group discussion if the setup permits. If not, one can try to keep work separate from one's spiritual practices, but without compromising their practices even at workplace. So to make the point again clear before we can conclude, one can remember Krishna at workplace. There's no problem with that one. But if you are thinking about the remembrance to be continual remembrance, that is dhyana, and that is not necessary at workplace. If one feels one has to be in that meditative mode, then working at companies, corporates, is not a best option. One can stay home and do dhyana as much as one wants. But again, whether one is at home or any other place, one must continue to do their assigned dharma. And during free time, one can do meditation, dhyana as much as they want. It is said there are different types of meditation: Rupa Dhyana, Nama Dhyana, Seva Dhyana, Leela Dhyana, and more. Meditating upon the beautiful form of the Lord, meditating upon the Lord's holy name, meditating upon the kathas, the leelas of the Lord, and doing a focused service to the Lord is also a meditation. Thank you. Hare Krishna.